I guess we should get started with a show here. What does everybody say? Should we do it?
Let's get going. Yeah, for sure.
Should we do this thing?
Yep.
Let's do it. All right. Welcome everybody to What Keeps You Up at Night? Entrepreneurship During Challenging Times, episode 34. Wow, we're more than a third of the way to 100 here. Amazing. Can't believe it, but we just love doing what we do here, and we're going to keep plowing along here because every week we learn something new and we engage with amazing people across the country, and today is no exception to that. We're going to be doing just that. So if you don't know me, my name is Colin Weston. I am the community leader for Startup Vancouver, which is one of over 40 chapters. We're going to get, see, that's aspirational. We're going to get to 50 very soon. One of over 40 chapters of Startup Canada across the country. And Startup Canada is the voice of the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs across the country here. And as you can see with the sign behind here, it's all about connecting you as entrepreneurs to each other, to resources, to other events, and opportunities, and mentors, and that's what we do here. And the show here is just one little way that we do that. So to get us started here, I'm going to quickly share my screen so that we can run through some community announcements here. Reza, you're once again tasked to making sure I've got my act together here.
Got the PDF, but I don't know if it's going to the next slide.
There we go. Let me know what's going on here because I'm always seem to be flying blind here and sometimes it's blabbing away without slides changing. So I think we got the first slide. Let me know if that's the case.
We got the first slide, but usually you open it full screen. I don't know how you use it.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do here. So we'll start with that and just let me know, Reza, you just chirp in there, my friend there. So on today's show, yes, we're mixing it up a little bit here. As you can see on the far right there of our guests, rather than being one of our three co-hosts, Maryam Mobini is putting on her guest hat today, and she is going to be talking about the upcoming Transformative Tech Conference. So she's going to be spending some time telling us all the good things there, is how technology is enabling wellness. And hopefully I did a good enough job there as far as the elevator tagline there, but Maryam will grade me later on with that. And we also have Dave Keighron, who is involved quite heavily with as an instructor and also administrator and doing other leadership roles at University Canada West. And I'm really excited to have Dave on today because they are going to be launching, hopefully I can say this, Dave, hopefully we didn't sign an NDA, but that's the hope if it goes to the Ministry of Education, is you're looking very soon, I'll let you say when the date is, a master's in entrepreneurship. So this is really exciting with this program. So we're going to talk about that, a lot of other things that Dave and University Canada West is doing. And also we have Nancy Wilson coming from beautiful Toronto, my hometown.
Colin, just to interrupt, your slides are not working.
Well, I haven't changed them yet, Reza, so don't worry, my friend.
Oh, okay. You got me there.
There we go. There we go. So I will, though. But don't worry, I won't be this long on every slide because I'll take up the whole show. So, of course, with Nancy Wilson, and she is the CEO and founder of the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce. And I haven't had a chance to meet Nancy yet personally, except for the last 5 minutes, but I've heard lots of great things, lots of energy. So I'm really excited to hear your story today. So Reza, now tell me, did I change the screen?
No.
Oh man.
I knew it because the PDF is just showing the PDF. You are usually on the full screen and it's not the case today.
There we go. I'm trying now. Still not doing anything there?
No.
All right, hang on. Geez, technology, or maybe it's more the operator. Maybe it's me again. There we go. Let's see if I don't go full screen here with that. How's that? Can you see him now?
Now we see the next slide, yes.
There we go. Okay, let's just stick with this here. So this little segment we call, how are you hanging in there? How are you doing? Hopefully everybody's doing a little better than Wile E. Coyote is doing here in this precarious spot here. So we just want to make sure and reach out to everybody here, and through the show, it's just really what we do here is just connecting and engaging you to make sure that during these times you're staying safe and you're staying engaged. And now that in BC here, that Dr. Bonnie Henry is kind of locked down things, clamped down a little bit more. We're not going to be in this forever here. So let's make sure that we show gratitude to each other and to ourselves also. And just like I'm doing here, and just like our Coyote friend is doing here also, tomorrow is Remembrance Day here in Canada. So let's show some gratitude for all of the veterans that have, and active service people that are protecting us around the world, and also at home here too. So it's all about gratitude is what we're going to be talking about today. And I know that Maryam's going to be talking about gratitude today in her talk. So very quickly here, Startup Vancouver, if you want to connect with us, social media is the best way to do that, where we have all the events that we have and everybody that we support. We also are very active on our YouTube channel, where we put all of our recordings of previous shows, including this one we'll be putting on there too. So, hey, if you like this conversation and want to hear more engaging conversations from entrepreneurs and innovators, that's the place to go. We also have another event platform called Can Startup Stories. We're very excited and very proud for the second year with Can Startup Stories to be celebrating Indigenous entrepreneurs. And that's going to be next Wednesday, the 18th. So please register for that. We'll include that link in chat also, and also on Facebook in the comments below too. We want to make this an interactive show. If you have any questions out there, everybody that's on either Zoom or Facebook, please ask, and we will make sure that our guests get asked those questions. We have a fabulous charity partner called Jack.org, which is an advocacy group that supports mental health awareness for youth. And we've raised over $600 so far with them. And we didn't get a donation today, so I will not be singing my shout out. As I say, I don't do that for free. You know what? You got to pay for that. So, but donate next week, and I'd be more than happy to sing. You know what? We've got 55 minutes left in the show here. So if you want to donate right now in real time, there's still time, and I'll warm up my voice to make that happen. So as I mentioned, so Dave Keighron, I'm going to be speaking with him at the end of the show, just talk about all the good things that are going on with University Canada West. As I mentioned, our co-host Maryam Mobini is putting on her entrepreneurship hat here, representing the Transformative Tech Conference. She's going to be speaking in the middle here. And then to start us off, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen now, so my friend Reza V, our other co-host, is going to be talking to Nancy Wilson in Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce and all the things that she is doing, and also asking her, spoiler, Nancy, what's keeping you up at night? So Reza, my friend, over to you.
Thank you, Colin, for the intro. Nancy, thank you for being here today. I'm going to just start up with, allowing you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. I'm getting all tongue-tied already. Of course I am, because it's a live show. So who am I? I am a CPA by trade. I'm an accountant. I have spent the majority of my employment career in accounting, but I currently am the CEO of the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce. So I founded the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce after a brief stint in entrepreneurship myself, where I ran an accounting and advisory firm working with women business owners. And when I left the corporate accounting world, where I found that, I wasn't really achieving the career goals that I set for myself, I thought, entrepreneurship, no problem, be my own boss, and I'll set my own goals and I'll reach them. But I found that the challenges followed me into entrepreneurship, as well as, all of these other challenges and risks that come with entrepreneurship. And of course, I saw that my clients were facing these challenges as well. It wasn't just me. When I heard that Canada didn't have a women's chamber of commerce, I saw that was a massive gap that needed to be filled. So that's sort of the very short story of how I decided.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nancy, tell us a little bit more about Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce. Who is it for? What do you guys do? How big are you guys?
Sure. So, so the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce, or CanWCC is the short form, is primarily an advocacy group, and it is for women identified and non-binary entrepreneurs, business owners, and founders. We represent them and take their views directly to government policymakers, as well as provide them with a community and resources to help them build their businesses.
Now, how big are you guys these days? What's the size of this community we are talking about?
So at this point, we have just over 300 members, and we're just finishing up our third year of operations.
Amazing. Nancy, is the organization open to men joining, or is it specifically for women?
So at this point, and I mean, to be honest, going forward, we represent women identified entrepreneurs and business owners. We encourage men to participate in our advocacy, and we'll look for ways to include men. But in terms of who we represent, that's limited to women identified business
The reason
owners.
I'm asking is because I've seen other woman focused organizations where they're advocating for women entrepreneurs, but at the same time, some of them are open to men joining. Some of them are trying to be more inclusive. I was trying to just clarify that for the audience. Tell us a little bit about the stories that came out of the last 3 years. I'm sure out of these 300 entrepreneurs, lots of different connections, different support groups they had to go through. Share some of those with us.
Definitely. So, I mean, there have been connections made within the CanWCC community that have grown into partnerships. And as well as friendships. I mean, one of the issues I think within the sort of women's entrepreneurship ecosystem is, you know, there's this idea that you join some of these groups, you know, for social support, which is true, but let's face it, we all have our own friends. What we need is business support, right? But having said that, you know, friendships have grown, business partnerships have grown out of it, and we've been able to collect a lot of feedback from women, actual testimonies about experiences that they've had with government, with financial institutions, challenges that they face that we can directly turn into recommendations that we've taken directly to government, saying to them, you know, these are things that can be changed, that can mitigate some of these challenges that everyday women entrepreneurs face.
Now, Nancy, I'm just briefly glancing at your LinkedIn. You've been an accountant for a very long time. How has your career changed ever since you found this group and this organization for women entrepreneurs? How has it directly affected you as an entrepreneur?
So when I first started, I thought I could do both. I tried to balance my accounting firm, advisory firm, and CanWCC. That was a fool's game, you know. And I learned very quickly, you know, that I had to be all in with CanWCC to make it work. So so that was number one. But I really felt that, you know, it was exactly where I needed to be. And one of the major issues facing women identified entrepreneurs is access to capital. So having that accounting and business background, including my experience in corporate finance, really helped me grasp those issues around access to capital, and to start having those discussions, particularly around, you know, the tax system, tax reforms, all of these issues that needed to start happening, as well as financial literacy. And that's going to be a really big thrust of our programming in 2021. We're really going to start putting out some educational material for entrepreneurs around financial literacy. And this is like no nonsense, nothing about, like mood boards. This is like financial literacy, no BS. Here it is.
Nice. That's amazing, Nancy. I just have a quick comment that keeps coming to my mind. It's amazing what you've been doing with women entrepreneurs, and in general. Like, I'm looking at the statistics when I hear the Shark Tank Kevin O'Leary saying that his entrepreneurs that are women in his portfolio are outperforming everybody else, and in Canada, you can see how women entrepreneurs are succeeding. It's just amazing to celebrate them. But at the same time, I personally, from outside one man's point of view, I have a criticism of not being excluding other groups in the way we form these pods. It's been a long time that a lot of groups been suppressed, but at the same time, I'm not sure if it's the right approach. And I'm not talking about your organization by all means. There are other organizations that I've seen. I'm not sure if it's the right approach to saying, now this is our group, we are excluding everybody else, and then the other groups and the other groups. I think including a diverse group of entrepreneurs in general is good practice, whether they're immigrants, whether they're men, whether they're part of LGBTQ plus, whether they're female. They all can learn from each other. I've seen this movement that it's a bit of an exclusion. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not sure if that's the right approach.
So there's no doubt that we need to take an intersectional approach and an intersectional lens when we look at the various issues and challenges that that entrepreneurs face, or when we're looking at any issue, we need to take an intersectional lens. And certainly we apply an intersectional feminist lens to our advocacy, absolutely. However, there is a wealth of research and evidence that continues to come out, as well as an existing wealth of evidence that, because of gender norms and cultural stereotypes, et cetera, when it comes to key things like access to capital and stereotypes around entrepreneurship, the venture capital system, there are distinct challenges that are faced by women or those who identify as women. And so I don't see it as excluding the voices of those who we don't represent, but we are simply representing that specific group and the challenges that they face while applying an intersectional lens to it.
Got it. And that's amazing. The only thing that comes to my mind is there is this amazing community of women entrepreneurs that I could learn from, that I could connect to, but I'm not going to be able to because I'm not a woman. And there is that lens too, all of a sudden the groups I'm joined, most of the women entrepreneurs are finding their own groups that they can join. It's kind of like the reverse of what's been happening over the past many decades. And I feel like it's amazing. It's giving a push to women entrepreneurs and women in general. But then how long that will continue and how would that look like for men entrepreneurs later on in this field?
So I would argue that some of the reverse needs to happen to balance that out. And how long does, however long it takes. I mean, based on some of the statistics, maybe 180 years, unfortunately, it is going to be how long it takes to reach gender equality. But what I will say is another component that the way that we work is we're building a partner network with
Mhm.
other organizations.
Mhm.
So you absolutely can connect with
Mhm.
members of CanWCC. So for example, Startup Canada is a part of our partner network.
Nice.
So we encourage our, like we work to refer our members to other organizations that are doing great work that they should be a part of. So we don't think that we exist to provide everything for our members. We
Yes.
are primarily an advocacy organization
Nice.
representing what they need with respect to um, policy change and systemic change.
Nice.
But we collaborate and partner with organizations across the
Nice.
country.
Nice. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I personally, I'm an immigrant to this country, and there are days that I feel like I will have to work twice as hard to get the results I'm seeking. And I'm navigating a world that, people before me has handed out to me, and now we are facing these inequalities, but at the same time I'm a new member in this world and I have to navigate it. This is great conversation, and I'm learning a lot from it. Dave, you seem to be listening very carefully. Do you have anything to jump in? I'm gonna let everybody else to chime in this conversation.
Well, I agree with Nancy. We recently did an interview with I think it's the CEO of the Women's Leadership Forum, and the same thing is happening, Nancy. There's still a bias out there towards women, and I think that women need to group together in order to get around some of those biases that are still out there. There is still a glass ceiling that's still there. So I think what Nancy is saying is definitely relevant. I see where you're coming from, Reza, and one of the things that I'm trying to do, and we'll talk about me in the next little bit here, but is through the university, is to create an innovation hub and to bring these pieces together, bring all these associations together, bring ideas together, and connect them with students, faculty, and other business networks in order to get these ideas happening so we can create innovation. So, yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank
agree. If
you.
I can jump in also, that a lot of the work that I do, as I think people know, is in the sport innovation space. And it's how do you make sport more welcoming and inviting for everyone? So there's that diversity inclusion piece, not just to play sports, but also the bigger piece of the $100 billion a year industries of sports. How do you become a vendor? How do you get involved in the business side of that? And Nancy, I guess to support your stance here, is that in entrepreneurship, we know the numbers. The numbers are grim as far as the very low percentage of women founders and entrepreneurs that receive VC money as far as the support. And as our friends with the 51, that represents 51% of the world's population, is women, you do not receive 51% of the opportunities and the funding and the support and the resources. So as a good friend of mine who heads up diversity and inclusion with the PG of America, a woman named Sandy Cross, she actually says for golf, as far as getting groups of women together first, people say, well, why do you actually just want to bring them all together rather than immerse them, as you put it, with everybody else? And she puts it that in order to be one, first you need to see one. Very simple. She probably didn't invent that saying, but that notion that to feel comfortable and invited to welcome, saying there's someone that looks like me, speaks like me, acts like me, has a similar background to me, even the same gender as me, that gives me comfort. And I believe this is really a stage one of the fact you need to kind of rally together first, and then slowly start to let, in this case, men in to support and be part of the conversation. And hopefully in our lifetimes, fingers crossed here, that we will get to a point where there is true equity, and that's something we need to strive for. We need to work very, very hard at. So I will support you on that particular one. Absolutely.
I also want to say that I really appreciate Reza. I know this is the question. This is a question that people always ask, like behind the scene. A lot of men are wondering about, but it's great that you ask the question that a lot of people are thinking but not really asking. And that's the nature of the podcast that we have here, is so unfiltered, and we create this kind of space that to be able to create a safe space for the dialogue. And I'm happy that Nancy, you're here to address that how important it is, and like how many years we have to actually put all this effort to balance this scale, right?
And
So
thank you, Maryam, for commenting that, because there are all these thoughts that come to mind, and I don't want to be the person that says yes, yes, that's amazing, and in the back of my mind I have so many questions, because if I was a corporate executive, yes, these are all correct. I'm responsible, etc., etc. But I'm an entrepreneur too that is starting from zero, and I'm trying to navigate, and I have a lot of unfavorable things ahead of me. Being an immigrant, being from Iran, being all these stuff are against me. And then I see, groups that are formed to support each other. Well, then it makes me question, do I need to go find other Iranian men and join them and have a say? Because I don't have that. And there is no group that I can identify and join. Then I'm in this mix of, where do I go? And there are groups that I cannot identify and join them because they're either women, they're either LGBTQT plus, or they're transgender, or there's so many different support groups. And then I'm left here with a lot of obviously stuff that is in favor of me that by nature. So I accept that. But at the same time, I'm trying to navigate this world as a startup founder, someone that is starting out. And then it makes me question, what should I go make a group for just myself and whoever looks like me? Well, I don't want to do that. I want to connect to all sorts of people from all sorts of communities.
yeah, thanks for sharing that. And so we can go beyond what we perceive people to be and their image, and to actually learn more about their story. And so thanks, Nancy.
Absolutely. Well, this in 34 episodes here, usually we keep it pretty light here. Not that that was confrontational, but that got pretty heavy and good. That was a real conversation. And this is a nice, safe place to have this conversation here. So Reza, thank you for putting that out there and putting yourself out there. Hopefully with Startup Vancouver, you feel you got a bit of a home here, that we connect. Obviously, we're like-minded in other ways rather than where we come from or what we look like or what our age or our gender identity. But hopefully you get a little bit of connectivity and a little bit of love from here. So Nancy, I want to thank you for that and bringing us up to speed of what you're doing there with Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce. And Maryam, now I want to hand it over to you so you can tell us all the great things that's going to happen starting in a couple of days' time with the Transformative Technology Conference. So Maryam, take it away. And you want me to provide the one slide you provided?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put that up here. So you go for it. All right.
Great, thank you so much. So just want to share a little bit about the Transformative Technology Conference that is coming up, and also just a transformative technology community that we have. So we're the only nonprofit dedicated to, can you see me? Yeah. We're the only nonprofit dedicated to the development of well-being technology, and we work with entrepreneurs and innovators in over 72 countries, 450 plus cities, 27 city chapters, and actually Vancouver was the second chapter that was launched after London. I believe, yeah, it was last year that I launched the Vancouver chapter. And we also have a regional summit and a platform where everyone connects, and we have over 1,000 people in that community. But I really want to tell you that why it's important to attend, especially this year, is that one thing is for sure, that our goal for TransX is that we're now more relevant than ever. So we seek mental health and emotional well-being and social and emotional flourishing, and enhance human potential for all. Because of obviously the pandemic, it's so important to come together and see like the impact that this pandemic is having on our mental health is going to be very significant. So we will all need the skills for less vanity and more sanity. And all the job losses and the economic impact will require millions to reinvent themselves. So to develop these future work skills that will center on human interaction. So learning those skills are really important. I was actually reading today in an article that was published in Reuters that 1 in 5 COVID-19 survivors are likely to be at the greater risk of developing mental illness. And after a large study, they found that 20% of those infected with the coronavirus are diagnosed with psychiatric disorder within 90 days. So in this group, what we're doing is that there are a lot of entrepreneurs, innovators, everyone who's interested in evidence-based research coming together and joining to accelerate our growth and putting technologies out there that are able to serve us. I'm just going to pause right here. I can go on and tell you a little bit more, but I'm going to see if anyone has any questions, specific questions that you're curious about.
Here, I was all on mute there for a second. With Maryam, I'll quickly go through chat to see if there's any questions. Although, so Maryam, we're going to put in the in chat and in comments here as far as the registration page with and a little more information with a link there, of course, to the Transformative Technology Summit. Could you tell us right now, I don't think you've done it already, but when is the conference? How long does it go? Obviously it's virtual. And and who is this really appealing towards between, I know there's different sectors and different groups, so perhaps you could talk about that a little bit too, of who would really benefit from attending this conference?
So the conference is taking place on Friday and Saturday is coming up on the 13th and 14th. And we are actually utilizing an amazing platform called Brella, which was we've been using them for about 2 years now, and it allows it allows us to create on our own profile and talk about what is the intention that we have attending the conference. So there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs who are seeking support. They're looking for feedback, funding, and friends, investors. They're going to be there. Any entrepreneurs who are working on technologies to do with mental health, emotional well-being, and human thriving, we're there to support them. Anyone who's just curious also for themselves to see what are the latest evidence-based research that are out there relating to the future work, relating to, for example, like mental health and, finding out, for example, like obviously with COVID-19 is showing us like how much we need support and skills around stress, depression, sleep, and just basic happiness. So we're going to be able to learn the latest research in those areas and hopefully take those and be able to bring that to your own life and experiment with it. It's all that to give you more insight about yourself. So some people might argue, do we actually need the tech, right? It's not about that. The tech is actually trying to inform us about what's going on in our body. It gives us the biometric data. The data is actually what is key, because if, let's say, if we don't have enough awareness about ourselves and our mind gets hijacked and we start ruminating, and I guess for the past 10 months that we've been under a lot of stress, what that data does is show us that, for example, hello? Oh, we're here. Okay, that shows us what's happening in our body. Is our nervous system in the sympathetic nervous system, or are we in parasympathetic, the resting and digesting? And that's where we want to be. So the conference is going to be, there's going to be a stage for, startups that can pitch. And we have Vancouver actually startup that are going to be participating in the pitch stage as well. There's going to be talks. There's going to be a lot of amazing talk about, for example, one of the talks I'm looking forward to is like Stephen Kotler, who talks about focus. And, with my ADHD brain, I really love to learn anything that I can around focus. So Yeah, I hope I answered you guys' question, but I'm just going to have a look here to see. And here you guys can get 50% off the conference if you use the link that we're providing you. So, so I'm going to pause here and see if you guys have any questions. Like Reza, you have any of your hard questions or?
I don't have any hard questions. It seems like a very interesting event.
Yeah, and yeah, I've you know, I've got a lot of support through that community, and it's I think it's definitely something that we need to, you know, to bring more attention to, you know, especially what's going on right here with the pandemic, which is, you know, send us back to our homes and revealing deeper issues. And this lockdown is obviously reconnecting us to our loved ones and making us learn how to stay connected to the people with whom we work, and what is the future is going to look like. So we're
And it's definitely needed because I personally gone through a lot of days that I'm thinking, you know, this is unhealthy. I'm eating breakfast on the same table that I'm packaging cards for clients, and I'm working the same room I'm sleeping. It's just not healthy. And then I talk to friends who joined a new company, but the training is really bad and they don't know their coworkers and everything there. It's affecting them. It's stressful. It's really not ideal. So
honestly, this
uh,
is a time right now we got to be like mindful of our immune system. We need to do whatever we can to make sure that we have less stress, we're eating well, and we're taking care of our gut health, because you know what we put in our body obviously
yeah,
affects our mental health as well. So um, yeah, I've been spending about a decade now working on my mental health, because I suffered from like major social anxiety, depression, and 2 years ago I found out that I have traumatic brain injury. So it's been all the trainings I would say that I've done in the past decade has really helped me to prepare for COVID and not to relapse. So
nice.
it's been really amazing. So Nancy is asking how many Canadian speakers will be at the conference. So far, for the pitches, I know five startups so far, um, but I don't have the data on that. But I can let you know. I can find out. Yeah. Anybody else in the audience who have any questions they would like answered? So I had a question from like last night I posted on Instagram, and there was a question about, you know, what constitutes transformation, you know. And so I would say that, you know, transformation is like the first thing that we need to do to is awareness. Awareness of what is the issue, you know, like what, as you know, Reza, you were pointing out to, if, for example, if you're not sleeping well, you wake up, you're agitated, you're stressful, you're short with people, you get triggered and you respond quickly, you know, is then you're wondering, well, what is really going on? What is a story that has been, you know, that is what is the story that I'm telling myself? Why my mind is ruminating? And there are so many different factors, right? It could be so many different factors, and sleep is like one of them. We need to get like really good sleep. So one of the transformative tech companies that I absolutely love is Aura Ring, and I'm not sure if you heard about them, but it gives you data about your, you know, how much REM sleep that you've had, and that data over time that, you know, it allows you to recognize your patterns, and be able to correct it and build positive behaviors, right? Another company also that I really love, because we, you know, usually at the conference, we have a space upstairs, which is like a lab, and we have all these goodies, all these like latest transformative techs that we get to try. And one of the technologies that I tried was the Apollo, which is a new wearable that melts away stress, and that you can relax and fall asleep and sleep better. And what I loved about it, you wear it around your wrist, and it has a haptic sensor, and that haptic sensor, the sensation that it has, it's really it trains your nervous system to go from like fight or flight and to rest and digest. Of course, there's no one size fits all solution, you know, so that's why I think everyone should try out different things and see what works for them, you know. For example, like Calm, Insight Timer, and you know, uh, those apps as well, like have been doing an amazing job. A lot of people are using them to help them meditate. You know, if they're like new to meditation, they can use the guided meditation that are available. For example, on the Calm app or Endel or, you know, Brain FM. It depends what you want. You're more into music or you need someone to guide you, right? And you know, these are all the tools that we need to reinvent ourselves for like what's coming. We really, really need to. We can't afford to have our immune system being affected because, yeah, because of what we're going through, right? So.
Your comment, Maryam, about awareness is one of the first things. And that's something that we certainly support. And Maryam, I think you're aware that, pardon the pun there, you're aware that in January for the second year in a row with our speaker series with Can Startup Stories, that the theme will be mental health awareness for entrepreneurs. So I'm thinking already is the story behind Transformative Technology Conference and all the things that you do, there could be a great tie-in there because, you know, the numbers are not great already just across society. The levels of anxiety and depression and even suicide are way too high. And entrepreneurship, sadly, is the numbers are even worse, 3 to 4 times higher across the board because it is isolating and lonely. And all those things that we talk about quite a bit. So I'm so glad that you're taking the lead with this, that you're willing to put yourself out there and show the strength and courage to share your story with this. And I know you've got a tie-in, and we got a couple more minutes before we're going to jump over to my conversation with Dave. But perhaps quickly you could mention how it ties in with your company that you're the CEO and founder of with To Resonate. And will you be presenting to the conference? And how does that all tie in to your why and your purpose?
So actually, I just want to go back to what Nancy was talking about, financial literacy and financial health. So what I had to do in the past year, I actually paused on To Resonate because I needed to take care of me first, and my both co-founders, we needed to take care of our financial health, and that is very key and important in this journey, if to take care of that, because there's a connection between your financial health and your mental health. So we paused. No, at the moment we're just been pausing on that, and doing some work on the side. But no, we're not going to be presenting anything. It's just like, you know, you got to take care of you first, and then be able to, yeah. So that's what I've been doing, taking care of me.
That is very true. Hey, we got time for just one more question here. Did anybody, one of our panelists perhaps, like to jump in, or Reza? I don't know if there's anybody in chat here, but looks like Dave's unmuted. I don't know, Dave, if you've got something you want to jump in?
Because this is something that I think is exploring as I'm developing new programs at the university, and one of the things that's coming up and trending in this space is mindfulness leadership. And listening to what Maryam's saying and these challenges that people are facing, and how leaders are dealing with this, with the support, of course, with technology. It's just a very interesting space, Maryam. So I don't know what your position is on a mindfulness leadership. Is this as a buzzword, or is it this, you know, that discussion point? But I think there's some interesting things. There's some synergy there.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be separate. It has to be together. You know, we need to see leadership and also like as we see ourselves as a whole being, whole human. So our mental and emotional well-being, and also this, you know, for the work that we're doing in the business side, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with Inner MBA. I think they're not separate. We're not just like, oh, we're starting a startup and, you know, just working our ass off. COVID-19 has showed us that we need to slow down, we need to rest, and those things are actually important to be able to be more productive. So I'm really excited, like, for those people who don't know, Dave and I are working together on the, you know, Innovation Hub and with UCW. So we're really excited to see what we can bring to that side. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Well, why don't we use that as a segue? You just put it on the tee for me here with talking about all the good things that UCW, or University Canada West, is doing. So, Maryam, thank you for that. I did include in the notes, I think Reza did too. So all the links for people, if you're interested to learn about how you can register and more about the event, not only the Eventbrite link in there, but also the website to Transformative Technology Conference also. So, Maryam, thanks for sharing that with us. Really appreciate that. So Dave, so you and I, let's have a chat about this. So I did not even know who UCW was, University Canada West, until a little while ago. Being an architect and caring about design, I did see that this university was going into this awesome building called Vancouver House, which is this amazing twisty building that looks like, how does it even stand up? So that's where I really heard about you first about a year ago. So why don't we actually take a step back here, Dave? Why don't you tell people out there about University Canada West, how long you've been around, a quick little kind of brief history, and then we'll lay that into all the things you're doing with your entrepreneurship programs.
Okay, definitely. Thanks, Colin, for the opportunity to chat with everybody today. And yeah, University Canada West has been actually around for very many years ago. It actually came out, I do believe was, and don't quote me on the date here, I think it was 2006. It was started by a chancellor of University of Victoria, and has used to be in Victoria, and now has over time has converted hands and over a couple different hands, and now has ended up in Vancouver. A number of years ago, and it really promotes both a graduate level degrees and undergraduate level degrees. Its biggest degree granting, I guess, program is our MBA, our Masters of Business Administration. And a majority of the students that do come to us are mostly international. I would say more leaning towards more 80% of those are international students that are coming here. As Colin alluded to, we're exploding and we're growing, and we're working on our ways to becoming a medium-sized university. And one of the ways to do that is to explore new ventures with new opportunities with new buildings. And so we wanted to make a mark in Vancouver, and so we made the mark with Vancouver House. So if you haven't had an opportunity, drop down to the bus at Granville Street Bridge on this side of Vancouver, and you will see this beautiful building beside the Twisty Tower. And we actually have become part of that community in at the base of Granville there, and we're looking to go further with that. And one of the things that I've brought to the table as I'm trying to work with University Canada West is that one of the passions I have is for innovation and entrepreneurship, and how do we bring new ideas and new concepts, how do we connect, and how we connect the connective tissue. And what Maryam and I have been working on is working on launching an innovation hub there. So I'll start the journey there, Colin, I guess.
Nice. Well, actually, just another way to start off, why don't we go back to your screen for a second, and why don't you move out of camera, because your screensaver is...
Oh yeah, I can do that.
There
we go. Look at that.
Perfect.
Good.
Perfect.
Nice.
See, you're using your words, but you had the picture right there. So I figured that would have been a lost opportunity to share that. And I love the entrepreneurial spirit there, which I know is real, because in the summertime, some of your leadership reached out to me and a handful of other people within the entrepreneurship and innovation community to have some workshop sessions. And you just put it out there like you need to do as an entrepreneur, as customer validation. Just you ask questions. What does the ecosystem really need? We've got these assumptions, but are those real? Do we need to validate that? So the fact you put that out there, listened, and then I'm sure took all that information back, and that's helping to form your curriculum, which I'm assuming is going to launch maybe sometime in 2021. Maybe you can't comment on that right now. So tell me about that as far as the entrepreneurial spirit, the fact that you've done that, and what learnings did you glean from the information that myself and some others passed along to you as far as what you should do and what you shouldn't do and what the market wants?
Yeah, and Colin, you make a good point. And, entrepreneurship is such a big part of Canada. Like 95% of our GDP is based on small, medium-sized businesses. And we have all these new immigrants that are coming here and they're landing here and with opportunities to grow. But the opportunities to grow it could be launching your own business or acquiring another business that, we have baby boomers that are moving out of that space. And so the concept of how do we as an education university support entrepreneurs? How do we better support them? There's a lot of different programs out there and that go down that pathway of trying to, determine how to support an entrepreneur in their educational journey. And so what we did when we reached out to yourself, Colin, and some other people within that community is what we wanted to understand is that what's working and what's not working. And what we determined from our conversation with the group was that a lot of these institutions tend to put these students in a box, and they limit the box, and they usually say it's an entrepreneurship startup or it's a sustainability startup or something. And we wanted to get away from that space. We wanted to make it more, we don't want to put any limitations on this. We want to just encourage them with the right pieces and the right tools to be successful. Connecting with what we're talking about, the Innovation Hub too, is connecting with networks and mentorships and having them solve real life problems on their journey towards discovering an idea, building a prototype, making sure that that there was some value offering in that offering that you can actually deliver to the market, that there is a need for that, and how are you going to be able to scale that up, and connecting them with those key pieces, but not limiting them to say, hey, it has to be a tech idea or it has to be a sustainable idea, it has to be this, is making it more open and grand. And one of the things that as we sort of lead down this is launching a master's in entrepreneurship and innovation management. Now we're still a ways away from doing that element, but what we want to do in the meantime is start to launch an entrepreneurship center where we can support current graduates that are going down the MBA path and have more of a focus towards entrepreneurship, and then lead into eventually this master's that will eventually, hopefully the ministry will approve for us.
Right. And I love what you're talking about with this innovation hub, this entrepreneurship center, because part of our why here, and the word connecting again is right in our banner, and that is entrepreneurs and just human beings. We're hardwired and connected to interact in that way. And before COVID, of course, we did that with our in-venue events, our van startup drinks, which is just this way for hundreds of diverse people of different backgrounds to come together and to share ideas and share that energy. So I love the fact you're creating that innovation hub. So I also know that you embrace this notion of wanting to collaborate, not to compete, and you've reached out to me and we're having conversations. Well, how can Startup Vancouver, how can Startup Canada get involved? Well, let me ask you this, since we have Nancy right here on the call also on the show, are you reaching out to groups like, I don't know, let's say like the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce and having conversations like what synergy is this? How can we connect so that you kind of plug in? I use this analogy of having this really long power bar and all these like cords kind of scattered all over, and we need to keep it kind of plug them all in one at a time. So how would you reach out, let's say, and connect with someone like Nancy to see if there's kind of mutual value that you can find?
Well, we're going through this process, Colin, as we're going through that process. We've actually hired a company called Envisioning Labs to help us with that process, to really develop it. And Miriam is working alongside of us with that choice. We're trying to build that network, and then what we consider that partnership network, because we believe there's value not only in supporting current businesses in the hub, but we also believe there's value in what we can bring into the classroom. And so what we're trying to do is actually in the short term right now is we're trying to build cases, and we do this on our podcast called Innovation Fuel, where we're building cases. So for an example, if Nancy had an entrepreneur, we would interview one of Nancy's entrepreneurs and we'd understand what some of their challenges are and some of those things, and then taking those real life case studies and bringing them back into the classroom so students can learn from those. And in the early stages, we get that why reinvent the wheel again? Why not get more information from the prior, people have already gone through some of these challenges before, bring those back in the classroom, and that will help connect that synergy. Other things we're doing is looking for partnerships. Like we started with Startup Vancouver, trying to figure out how can we start linking that partnership? How do we bring that into the building once we have a building and be able to support those and support other organizations and communities around that, getting those stories out, getting our students connected, getting our faculties to be a part of that, maybe even helping with our faculties actually doing some research to support application or to support some things down the way. And these are the sort of things that we're trying to start to pull together that connective tissue in order to move those forward, so we can create that ecosystem where we want to create a community. We want to create, and when I say a hub, I mean a hub is a community. We want to be connected, not only what we bring in as our students and faculty are, but we also want to be connected to, we're connected to all the different associations, and how do we bring those associations, and how do we connect those associations to meeting some of the business needs, meeting some of the student needs, meeting some of the faculty needs, and create that innovation community.
Love it, love it. Well, it sounds like you're just getting started there, and the fact you've got Maryam in your corner there to help facilitate this and move it forward. I know you're in good hands there. You certainly are. So I did want to open it up to Reza and also Maryam, and even to Nancy here, if you had any questions there, or Reza, perhaps you can look in chat and see if there's any questions there.
I haven't seen any question myself. I'm just listening today. I don't have any questions. I'm wearing my entrepreneurial hat today. I've got 13 different things I'm doing at the same time. I've got grumpy customers emailing me as the show is going on. So pardon me if I'm not as present.
You're living the dream, man. You're living the dream. Okay, well, we'll forgive you. We'll give you a pass today, Reza here. So Maryam, the fact that you've been involved with the program for some time, I'd like to hear your comments, or kind of the lens that you view it through, and the work that you also do with University Canada West.
Yeah, so I've been with University Canada West for over 2 years now, and teaching the MBA program, the course Entrepreneurship, and also some undergrad courses. So really excited about this innovation hub, and going beyond that physical space, of course, because there are lots of amazing individuals in the city that are doing great things, utilizing the maker spaces and other other innovation hubs that are out there to all co-create and work together to bring about different collaboration. Like even City Studio are doing amazing work as well, like creating those partnerships with Vancouver design nerds, and like, for example, Creative Mornings, and creating partnerships with, of course, like Startup Vancouver. There's going to be lots of there's going to be lots of juicy things happening, which I'm so excited for our for our students. They're so lucky to be able to work on real world projects, and also tapping into the startup community and see how their skill set can be useful for the startups, and so they can get real life work experience. And one of the things that is so unique about the students at UCW is because they're all international students, and our our graduate programs are attracting a lot of students who they come with backgrounds, for example, in biotech, architecture, interior design, law. And so not only that they're getting that education for the business education, but then they have background in civil engineering and different backgrounds, that so they can come into a project and look at like a completely, bring a new fresh perspective. And they often have like 5 to 10 years of industry work under the belt that makes it really unique. So there's that level of maturity there. Yeah, it's super excited to work.
Nice. So hey, we're just going to finish up before the top of the hour here. So hey, Nancy and Dave, I did want to ask you these questions very quickly here.
Yep.
Like the show's name, what's keeping you up at night? Starting with you, Dave. The fact, I'm assuming you are not in that beautiful space behind your head quite yet, so you're all virtual, so that's on hold. So yeah, how are you doing personally? What do you do to keep your anxiety level down so that it would be Maryam approved here?
What do I do to keep my anxiety down? It's a good question. What keeps me up at night? I think for me, like the biggest thing, that my passion and desire is I really want students to get opportunities in the environment, either be a job or be an entrepreneurship opportunity. And I'm always constantly struggling with that element of where can I add more value? Where can I bring more value to this? And I think the biggest thing for me is there's so many things that I can be doing, but I need to find ways to narrow my focus down and be really focused on certain areas. And what I talked to, I think, Maryam and some other people about is, I need to do this in bite-sized chunks, because we as humans, we tend to shy away from a lot of change at once. And so what we need to do is I need to micro it. And so I do small little iterations of these projects, and I put little injections of these projects, and I build on them so that people are more absorbed. So I think that's how I can control it.
Got it, got it. The procrastinator's dilemma, right? You try to do so much and you're overwhelmed and you do nothing. I've definitely fallen into that trap also. So yes, getting those small wins and getting, and celebrating those too in bite-sized chunks. So before we finish up, Nancy, I want to turn it over to you. So what's keeping you up at night there in beautiful Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, I think that really what's keeping me up at night is what's going on with our members in the broader women identified business community. This year has been extremely hard for them, and I think that the recovery really is so dependent on investments that the government could make in their recovery, but we'll see what happens with the forthcoming budget in the new year, and I hope that our government will make the right decisions and invest in the women's entrepreneurship recovery strategy that I'm trying to push forward, in the same way that they announced their women's entrepreneurship strategy back in budget 2018, because we really, women business owners are essential and can really contribute to the economic growth and development that we need to build back our economy as a whole.
Thank you for that. And as we end here, I do want to thank all of our guests and our hosts here for being so real today, for being vulnerable and putting themselves out there today, because that's not easy to do, and we need to do that more and have a discussion around that. So to end the show today, Reza, if you're not multitasking too much, my friend, why don't I hand it over to you to end our show today? Take it away.
Well, another Tuesday, another show with What Keeps You Up at Night, Startup Vancouver edition. Join us every Tuesday at noon for a great, storytelling type of unfiltered conversation with three entrepreneurs. Thanks to Nancy, Dave, and Maryam to share your stories and everything you guys are doing.
Great stuff. And lastly, I do want to add, I want to thank Startup Canada, because they introduced me and us to Nancy, because it's all about connections here. And we're hoping that Nancy also gets involved with Startup Canada, perhaps even helps get a chapter as a community leader in Toronto, the area that she's in, just like I'm doing here. So I want to have a shout out for them and thank them for Startup Canada, that is, for all the good things that they do to support us. So thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.